You made the spreadsheet, you did the math, groceries, rent, savings, the 20% you swore you'd finally keep. For about 3 days, it worked. Then something small happened, a delivery order, a just this once, and the budget didn't bend, it broke. Not because you forgot how subtraction works. You have a finance degree's worth of common sense, and it still didn't matter. That's the part nobody explains. Budgeting isn't a math problem, it's a wiring problem. And the wiring was built for a different job entirely. On paper, money is fungible. $1 equals another dollar no matter where it came from. Your brain didn't get that memo. Economist Richard Thaler called this mental accounting. We sort money into invisible buckets. Rent money, fun money, found money, and each bucket gets its own rules. That's why a bonus disappears in a weekend but the same amount sitting in your checking account feels untouchable. It's why refunds and gift cards get spent almost twice as fast as regular income. It's not carelessness, it's categorization. Your budget spreadsheet has one column for cash. Your brain runs a dozen, each with a different level of guilt attached to spending it. So the leak in your budget often isn't your biggest expense, it's whichever bucket your brain has quietly decided doesn't really count. Here's a strange but well-documented finding. People treat their future selves less like themselves and more like a stranger they're being asked to do a favor for. Neuroscience studies show that when people imagine their future self, brain activity looks closer to how it responds to thinking about a completely different person. That's what economists call present bias, or hyperbolic discounting. The pull of an immediate reward is wildly stronger than the pull of a delayed one, even when the delayed reward is objectively bigger. Save $200 this month, or get something now. Logically, saving wins every time. Emotionally, now has a lobbyist in your brain and later doesn't. This is why the budget rule you break almost never involves a distant goal. It's the near-term ones. Your brain isn't refusing to plan for the future, it's discounting a future self it barely recognizes as you. Psychologist Roy Baumeister ran a series of experiments that gave us the term ego depletion, the idea that self-control draws from a limited resource that gets used up over the course of a day. The research since has been debated and refined, but the basic pattern holds up in everyday life. The more decisions you make, the worse your resistance gets. That's why your budget rarely breaks at 9 a.m. It breaks at 9 p.m., after a full day of small decisions have already spent down whatever self-control you started with. The online cart, the late-night order, those aren't random lapses in judgment, they're what's left of your willpower after everything else took a bite out of it first. You didn't lose discipline, you ran out of it, on schedule, the same way you run out of energy. Behavioral economists Drazen Prelek and George Lowenstein describe something called the pain of paying, the small psychological wince you feel handing over money. It's real, it's measurable, and it's the thing that actually stops most impulse spending. The catch is that this pain scales with how physical and visible the transaction feels. Handing over cash hurts. Watching a number decrease in an account hurts less. A single tap with no visible balance, no signature, no count, barely registers at all. Every layer of convenience that's been added to spending in the last 20 years has been, often unintentionally, a layer of anesthesia. Your budget assumes you'll feel the spend and self-correct. But the entire system between you and your money has been engineered to remove that feeling. There's a pattern researchers first documented in dieting studies called the "what the hell" effect. One small violation of a rule, one cookie, one over-budget purchase, doesn't just cost you that one thing. It often triggers a much bigger break from the plan entirely because the rule now feels broken beyond repair, so why keep following it? Psychologically, this is a mix of sunk cost thinking and a kind of moral bookkeeping. Once you've marked the day or the month as failed, the cost of one more purchase feels like it's rounding to zero. You're not weighing this purchase against your goal anymore. You're weighing it against a version of the month you've already mentally written off. This is why budgets rarely die from one big mistake. They die from one small mistake, followed by the story you told yourself about what that mistake meant. Not all budget rules fail for the same reason. Some fail because they were never really yours. Self-determination theory, a well-established framework in motivation research, makes a distinction between rules you impose on yourself because you understand and believe in them, and rules you're just following because someone else said so, whether that's a finance influencer, an app, or your own guilt. Externally imposed rules trigger something close to psychological reactance, a pushback against feeling controlled, even when the controller is a version of yourself from 2 weeks ago. That's why a rigid, borrowed budget can feel like restriction, and your brain treats restriction as something to escape. The budgets that survive contact with real life tend to be the ones built around a reason you actually believe, not a rule you copied because it looked responsible. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman described the mind as running two systems, one fast, automatic, and emotional, the other slow, deliberate, and effortful. Your budget lives entirely in the slow system. It's a plan, a set of numbers, a deliberate commitment made in a calm moment, but almost every spending trigger you actually encounter, a sale, a notification, a craving, a bored scroll through a checkout page, is aimed squarely at the fast system. It doesn't ask your slow system for permission. It doesn't wait for you to consult the spreadsheet. By the time the deliberate budget-aware part of your brain shows up to the decision, the fast system has often already made the purchase. This isn't a personal failing, it's a mismatch of speed. You built a plan using the slow system to defend against a world that mostly attacks through the fast one. None of this means the math doesn't matter, or that budgets are pointless. It means the failure point was never where you were looking. You didn't break your budget because you're bad with money. You broke it because it was built to survive a calm, rational moment, and spending mostly happens in moments that are neither. Understanding the wiring doesn't fix it by itself, but it changes the question. Instead of, why can't I stick to this? The real question becomes, which one of these 7 patterns is actually running the show in your life? That's usually where the real fix starts. Not with more willpower, but with knowing exactly what you're up against.